Hoje eu vou contar um pouco a história do nosso Portal da Luz. O início desse portal, ele tem uma história do idealizador desse projeto, que é o senhor divino João Cavion e sua esposa, Eulália Casagrande Cavion, e moravam afastados, onde não tinha hospital, não tinha nada, e o irmão dele, de 7 irmãos, ele era o mais velho, e esse irmão veio a falecer sem conseguir assistência médica, porque eles não tinham como levá-lo a um hospital, e ele acabou sofrendo muito essa dor de ver aquele irmão sofrer sem ajuda e sem condições. Então ele se fez um juramento, que quando ele ficasse mais velho e que ele tivesse condições de ajudar, ele iria então fazer uma instituição para atender pessoas carentes, como ele foi. Para fazer esse projeto todo, é óbvio que precisavam pessoas para vir se juntar a ele. E aí então ele idealizou na cabeça dele de fazer então, além do centro espírita, que foi a nossa primeira construção, o nosso início, ele também tinha a ideia de fazer um centro, então uma escolinha para as crianças, como começou a escolinha Nosso Lar, hoje Centro Assistencial Portal da Luz, A primeira casa foi o Centro Espírita Portal da Luz, depois a segunda foi a nossa escolinha, depois foi feito então o centro de eventos, que está até hoje, sendo um grande auxiliar para podermos então manter a instituição.
Meu nome é Isabel, eu coordeno o Serviço de Convivência e Fortalecimento de Vínculos aqui no Portal da Luz, no qual atendemos 80 crianças como meta, dentro do nosso projeto.
Meu nome é Irene, trabalho há 17 anos no Centro Assistencial Portal da Luz e é muito bom e gratificante servir eles.
Eu sou a Marilei, sou assistente social aqui do Portal da Luz. A relação que eu tenho com as crianças aqui é de muito amor. Então, para nós, isso é muito gratificante. Quando a gente sabe que a gente conseguiu mudar, transformar alguma coisa, esse é o nosso trabalho, é por isso que a gente está aqui, por eles.
E a gente vem aqui trabalhar por amor, a gente se dedica porque a gente gosta daquilo que a gente faz e se sente feliz de poder colaborar um pouquinho no meio de tanta situação dramática como nós estamos presenciando hoje. E que Deus abençoe toda essa família Portal da Luz, todas as pessoas que por aqui passaram. Foram muitas que deixaram o seu legado. Um abraço a todos e continue prestigiando o Portal da Luz. Venham nos conhecer, venham conhecer o trabalho.
Studying the Spirit's Book. A sequential study of Allan Kardec's work, The Spirit's Book. This is our way of transmitting hope, knowledge, and joy. Our fraternal greetings to you who are joining us in studying the Spirit's Book. It is a great pleasure to begin our study today. We are in the first part of the Spirit's Book, Chapter 3, on creation. Today we will talk about the formation of the worlds and biblical considerations and concordances concerning creation, which are covered in question 59. Today we will discuss questions 37 to 42 for you to follow along. Welcome to our dear Chris. We begin our audio description today. Chris is a fair-skinned young woman. She wears glasses, has a slightly blue streak in her hair, right? And her hair is brown with gray. She is wearing a black blouse and is transmitting from an environment that is a chalet. It is a great pleasure, Chris. We also have with us today our interpreter for Libras, Brazilian Sign Language, Jane Machado. She's a fair-skinned young woman, with glasses, dark hair, her blouse is also black, and the wall behind her is white. Welcome, Jane. We appreciate this opportunity, this partnership, to be transmitting in Libras, Brazilian Sign Language, so that we can also reach our brothers and sisters who are following us, right? It's a pleasure, isn't it, Chris?
Very good, Carlos. It's always a renewed joy to be together, right? Also in this inclusion process, which is very important. And because of that, I want to describe you. Carlos is a fair-skinned man, who also wears glasses, and he's in a very well-lit environment, with white curtains in the background. Today he's wearing a black dress shirt. And let's also take this opportunity to welcome our guest who is here again, Odiciro Rangel Nascimento. He's a white man, also wears glasses, it seems everyone coordinated today, and he's also wearing a black shirt. And Odiciro always contributes a great deal, right, in the inferences of the questions, mainly because they are pertinent to his area of work, a doctor in physics, professor at the Physics Institute of USP in São Carlos. Odiciro is also a Spiritist speaker and attends the Spiritist Society Obreiros do Bem.
Oh, he's with us today too. A great pleasure to have our dear La Cordera Abreu e Fayad, who is also a fair-skinned man, wears glasses, gray hair, is wearing a gray suit. He's from Cuiabá and said it's cold there, folks. That's news to me. His shirt is a light-colored shirt, the wall behind him is also light-colored, but he has a painting there of, it looks like a path in a forest with some trees, very beautiful. And Lacorde is vice president of the Spiritist Federation of Mato Grosso. A pleasure, Lacorde. Thank you, Carlos, and the entire team on behalf of the Spiritist Federation for this kind invitation to participate in this valuable program that has contributed so much to our Spiritist movement. Thank you and a hug to all. Very well, we will now thank our simultaneous transmission partners for our Studying the Book of Spirits program. We have the support of Espiritismo Net, Manseo do Caminho, Federação Espírita Catarinense, Federação Espírita do Distrito Federal, Web Radio Fraternidade, Web Radio Amigo Espiritual, Editora e de Luz, Portal da Luz, TV Cicle, and Servido Espírita. To you who are following us on all these networks, our fraternal greetings as well.
Very good, friends. So let's get to work. Starting today on the theme of the formation of worlds, we will, in this first moment, analyze questions 37 to 42. And for Odiciro, I pose the first question. Odiciro, what definition of the universe does modern science offer? My friend, turn your audio on for us. The TAC, yes.
Ah, yes. Is it on? Now? Yes, now listening. We're listening.
So, to make this definition, I'm going to use a little image that I wanted to show, shared on the screen. In this image we see a sphere. Right. That has a radius of 92 billion light years. A light year means traveling for 1 year at the speed of light, which is 300,000 kilometers per second. So you take the year, convert it to seconds and multiply by 300,000 kilometers and you'll have how many kilometers fit in there. It's a lot of numbers, very, very large, but our observable universe is thought of as a sphere, right, whose diameter is on the order of 92 billion light years. And it also has a formation time of 13.7 billion years. So it's made up of a series of filaments, a very representative language, actually, where each granule that makes up this filament is a galaxy. Therefore, it has a very large number of galaxies. We estimate, for example, that the volume of this sphere is on the order of 4 by 10 raised to the power of 80 m cubed. That means, well, a number 4 followed by 80 zeros. We can't really read that number, can we? So this volume is in cubic meters, which is an inadequate measure to measure something so large. But this is just to give an idea of the immensity that science defines as our universe. It's a gigantic sphere whose numerology doesn't fit in our heads and which is made up of a very large quantity of things. The average density of our universe is very small, corresponding to 6 protons or 6 hydrogen nuclei per cubic meter. 1 cubic meter, m cubed, is like a water tank measuring 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. Imagine you put just 6 hydrogen atoms in it. That's the density of our universe. It's almost empty, isn't it? There's a lot of space left over. In this immense space, isn't it? It's made up of archipelagos of stars that we now call galaxies. Each galaxy has a certain number of stars. Generally, an average galaxy has 400 billion stars. Our Milky Way has 200 billion stars. It's a smaller galaxy than average. There are galaxies with trillions of stars, so the size of galaxies varies. But we have, right? An estimated quantity of almost 80 billion galaxies similar to ours, the first estimate that scientists made, but today there are bolder estimates. It is believed that our observable universe has almost 3 trillion galaxies. See how fantastic that is? Each galaxy contains approximately 400 billion stars. And each star, on average, can have 1 or 2 planets. Some stars have none, and some have many more. Our solar system has 9 planets and a lot of other celestial bodies, right? So, there's an immense variety of bodies in our universe. In general, every galaxy in our universe has a black hole at its center, which is an astronomically massive thing. It has a lot of mass, sometimes several million times the mass of suns, and it has such a strong gravitational force that it can capture almost everything around it, right? Right? Generally, the structure of the black hole is what maintains the structure of the galaxies. And the gravitational force is the important long-range force that keeps this universe as marvelous as we observe it. Galaxies are not isolated, they form clusters of galaxies. Our galaxy, for example, is part of the Virgo galaxy cluster, right, in the Virgo constellation, because it's in the direction of the Virgo constellation. And it's represented here as a tiny point in the center of this black sphere that we observe. So, our universe has a very interesting characteristic. It has no center. Anywhere is the center, because it's isotropic. That is, whichever direction you go, you find more or less the same things. So, this is a characteristic of our universe. It's a cosmological model of the universe that we have. So, I see that it's something frighteningly large, but this is what we call the observable universe, which is what we can observe because of the light emitted from all the bodies in our universe. Today we can observe, through Hubble, for example, galaxies that are at the edge of our universe, right? Galaxies that are at the beginning. And there's also something curious that greatly shocks our thinking, which is the following. Since the speed of light is constant, the sun that we are observing, the light that we are seeing from the sun, left the sun 8 minutes and 15 seconds ago. This means the following. If our sun explodes now, we'll only know about it in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Our closest galaxy is Andromeda, right? 2 million light years from us. If it explodes, we'll only know about it in 2 million years. So, we're seeing the galaxy in the past because we're seeing the light that came out of there 2 million years ago. So, the farther away we observe a body, the closer we are to the beginning of our universe, the further back it is. So, observing large galaxies that are very distant from us gives us information about the beginning of our galaxy. So we have the beginning of our universe. So we have a history of our universe by observing different galaxies closer, farther away, stars closer, farther away. And this is the view we have today from science of our universe. It is made up of stars, planets, star clusters, galaxies, and a lot of cosmic dust. When a star explodes, it pulverizes the matter that has formed in its core, because stars are factories of atoms. Hydrogen atoms fuse to become helium atoms fuse with each other to form carbon atoms, and so on until slightly heavier atoms are formed. When a star explodes, its energy is so intense that it forms heavier atoms, like uranium and lead, right? The last elements of the periodic table, the heaviest ones, are produced in stellar explosions. So our bodies, for example, which are made of atoms, were made in the core of some star. Our bodies are children of the stars, aren't they? We are children of God as spirits and children of the stars in our physical bodies. Our actions were made in the core of stars. So that's the vision we have of our universe.
And the certainty that we have here, right, Carlos? And the certainty of this, right? Right? And it's interesting. Cordia, comment a little bit on this for us. Go ahead. Yes, the interesting thing is that the excellence of the Spiritist doctrine, which comes to us as if it were the telescope of the soul, shows that the epicenter of all this is God. And the gravitational force is love. Right? Because you see, it proves that there is no such thing as chance or miracles, right? Because what we attribute to chance and miracles is nothing more than a poverty of instrumentation to wound the intimacy of the spirits, right? And look, this data fully proves the existence of this superior intelligence, right, that governs all this, right? It's the beauty that the Spiritist doctrine offers us, right? You're right, Lasse, because we would never imagine that God, in his marvelous intelligence, would build the stars to make atoms, and then human bodies.
True. So there's a logic to this construction, isn't there? There's an intelligent structure behind it. That's right. Furthermore, another thing I didn't mention, but Jose already did, is that in scientific thought, the universe today is made up of 3 things. Everything we observe, and we observe it through 2 observation mechanisms, which are electromagnetic waves at all wavelengths, from radio waves and telescopes to gamma radiation, and also now gravitational waves. Gravitational waves are bringing us modern information about our universe, and gravitational waves also propagate at the speed of light. So, everything that radiates electromagnetic waves is our visible universe. But behind it we have an invisible universe made up of dark matter that has a gravitational effect but doesn't radiate light. So, we don't know what it's made of. And besides, if we think about the law of gravity, gravity should cause the universe to collapse because it's attractive.
True.
But instead, it's expanding. So, there's an expansion force that we call dark energy, which also dominates the universe. So, from a scientific point of view, our universe is constituted by ordinary matter, which we call baryonic matter. This accounts for about 5% of the universe. Dark matter, which accounts for about 27%, which we don't know about. We
know it's gravitational, but we don't know what it's made of.
What it's composed of, or what particles it's made of. And dark energy, which forms about 70% of our universe. So that's the scientific view we have of the universe. That's it.
And another one, the benefactors present to us, for example, Joanna, and others, the two other forces, the endo-evolutionary force and the auto-evolutionary force, right? This endo-force, which is the force where all the forces are inserted, which provides the changes, right? And the self-evolving force, which is the force of will, which we as spirits possess, is precisely what is in question 115 of the Spirit's book, which is the only difference between us and the beings in kingdoms, right? Mineral, vegetable, and animal, which are governed by automatism, right? We possess the force of will. The evolutionary force. So, look how beautiful, how supreme this celestial programming is, isn't it? According to Lacordaire, we have Larissa saying, summarizing everything you're saying, right? Everything we're discussing here. What is the answer to question 37 according to Spiritism in the Spirit's book? What is the answer to question 37? It's what she asks us. Right? Precisely where the universe encompasses everything, right? So, we will realize that this part in which we are inserted, the systemic force in which we are inserted, right? Very interesting. So, you asked me a question, didn't you? Yes, she asked what it was, right, what this thing is, what the universe encompasses. In some way that's already answered, isn't it? Or do you want to comment on something else? Yes, it's what Kardec tells us, right? The universe encompasses the infinity of worlds that we see and those that we don't see, all animate and inanimate beings, all the stars that move in space, as well as the fruits that fill the earth, right? So, we can succinctly say the following. The universe is the loving space that God created to house all of His creation, the universe itself being His creation.
Wonderful. I'm going to put together here, Taysiro, 2 questions for you, following up on question 37 from the Spirit's book, okay?
Yes. The question is, you've already explained to us with numbers that there are billions of galaxies, but is there only one universe, or can the concept of multiverses be accepted? And coupled with this question, which I think you're able to summarize, is, was the universe we know created, or has it existed for all eternity like God? Yes, these are 2 very interesting things to think about from the point of view of the idea of a universe or a multiverse. What science does today is, if we are observing our universe and this universe had a beginning with the Big Bang, the question is, why couldn't there have been many Big Bang points forming by the will of God? And if that happens, we wouldn't have one universe, we would have infinite universes. Our problem is that we can't communicate, at least for now. We can't have communication from one universe to another, because they are like separate bubbles, gigantic separate bubbles. So, if there's no communication from one to the other, it doesn't know of the existence. So, today there's a scientific theory of the universe as a multiverse. Many similar universes with different histories, but we can't prove it because there's no communication between them. Because our communication in the universe, for now, isn't done through electromagnetic radiation, and we don't receive electromagnetic radiation from other universes, probably because it doesn't reach us. So, from the point of view of Spiritist doctrine, since we have an idea of God, that God is eternal, that is, He wasn't created and always exists, He couldn't have been idle at any moment. Therefore, He always creates. Unlike the view we have in Mosaic Genesis, that God created the universe in 6 days, rested on the seventh, when we observe the universe, we see new stars appearing, old stars exploding, ceasing to exist. So, planetary systems, ancient planetary systems. So, our universe has different ages, there are stars forming now. So God didn't create, creates, continues creating, right? So it's a vision of perpetual work. So, most likely, the idea of a multiverse is good and convenient for us for now because it's a way of explaining that God always creates. Although we don't know yet, one day, as a more superior spirit, we will be able to understand this better. So God created, creates, and continues to create the universe. Therefore, the universe did not create itself. God is the source, the supreme intelligence, and the primary cause of all things. So, to think that the universe has always existed is to say that it didn't need God. True. So that doesn't make for an intelligent concept, because the universe is intelligent, it's an intelligent effect, so there has to be an intelligent cause behind it. Okay.
You can comment on that, but moving on to another question, let's try to understand, right? This is very difficult because we don't have the elements, but how did God create the universe? Exactly. So, you see, that's why Jesus said, "The Father works incessantly, and I work with Him," giving this idea that there is no idleness, right? So, work is a vibrant hymn of the universe, as in Joan of Angeles, right? Man and woman work on the land, the worm works beneath the land, and the Father works in the galaxies. So, within this understanding, see, Kardec, when asking the spirits this question, says, "Look, all that can be said and understood about this is that worlds are formed by the condensation of matter disseminated in space." So, see what we can understand now, as we come to know, that's why Jesus says, "Know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Similarly, for example, here in Mato Grosso there is an excellence in soybean production. Did the geneticists create a new soybean? No, because they know about genetics. What did they do? They worked with the elements of the soybean itself to arrive at a soybean with a higher productivity index and greater resistance to pests. Similarly, as we grow morally and spiritually, we are able to better understand how God created the universe. But, for example, superior spirits, like Jesus, are at another level of understanding, right? So, according to Kardec, and even the spirits themselves, we still cannot conceive of it at this moment. May I say a few words on this?
Please.
I love this answer from the spirits, don't you? Because they say, to use a common expression, I will say, by your will. Nothing characterizes this omnipotent will better than these beautiful words from Genesis. God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. So, in modern terms, we can say, God said, "Let there be a point in the Big Bang." And the universe was made precisely. Let many points of dense energy expand. And the multiverses were made, are being made. That answer the spirits give is incredibly elegant. I think it's wonderful. It's
True.
It's a great impulse, isn't it, Otiro? The great omnipotent impulse of God. Oh, Tesiro, I even wanted you to comment on that, reflect on it, offer us a reflection, because we talk about the Big Bang, right? So, is it a theory or is the Big Bang just a hypothesis that lacks a basis to be a theory? And besides the Big Bang, is there another theory about the creation of the universe that you consider relevant to comment on? Look, in fact, today all cosmologists and astrophysicists clearly believe in the Big Bang, because it comes from a law of observation. This law of observation was discovered by Hubble, which gave its name to the observatory that is in orbit around our Earth. The reason was as follows. He began to study galaxies, which, in Kardec's time, were galaxies. The modern concept of a galaxy is from the 20th century, isn't it? So, while observing the galaxies, he began an observation experiment, measuring the speed of the galaxies relative to our planet Earth. Because we are the center of observation. It's as if we were at the center of the universe. The universe, the center of the universe, is where the observer is. So, if we were at the star Vega, that would be where we were. If we were at Sirius, that would be where we were. The universe has no center. The center is the observer, right? So he began to observe and see that the galaxies had a speed at which they were moving away from our Earth. And then he measured the distance they were from us and their speed. And he started to make a graph on the vertical axis. He put the speed on the horizontal axis and the distance to the galaxy on the horizontal axis. So, each galaxy forms a point on this graph, speed and distance, right? Then he measured all the galaxies and saw that these points fell along a straight line that passed through the origin. And the farther away the galaxy is, the faster it moves away from us. So, if you mentally reverse the speed of all the galaxies, they will meet at the origin, because the more distant ones move faster and the less distant ones slower, so they arrive together. This gives the idea that when it began, it exploded and expanded. And this model of the universe's expansion is the Big Bang model. How long would it take the galaxy we observe to be the most distant to reach the origin? If we reverse its speed? 13.7 billion years. That's the age of our observable universe. That's what we observe. There are things we don't know how to observe yet, because we only have two means of observation. We are observing gravitational waves and electromagnetic waves. We don't observe other forms of energy yet. We don't know, for example, how to observe mental energy. We don't even know what it is.
The energy of thought, we don't know what it is. Hey Tiro, Chris had asked another question before. I'll repeat it, but first there's a comment here from Mauro Arantes. The universe is not God's creation, he says. The universe is the materialization of God's thought. That's what he put it, isn't it? But Christina said, is there any other theory about the creation of the universe that you would highlight? Or are we stuck with the Big Bang for now? Quote,
No, it's the Big Bang. That's the model we have. Of course, there are some philosophies that admit that everything has always existed. That it didn't need to have an origin, everything has always existed. But there's no material or scientific evidence for that. So it's just a free philosophical thought, without commitment to the observation of nature. Right? So, the observation of nature shows an expanding universe. That's what we have materially, scientifically, measurable by the scientist through the measurements they make of celestial bodies.
very well, the Big Bang itself didn't happen by chance, right? It says, not even a handshake is by chance. So, imagine the Big Bang. Yes,
It's clear that, from the point of view of Spiritist doctrine, we know that since it's an intelligent work, it was God's will. It's divine will. The Big Bang occurred to create this universe that humans will observe. And it was created and is being created because it's not complete, it's in creation. We ourselves are unfinished beings, aren't we? We are evolving. So God creates continuously. The observation of our companion that you mentioned is just another way of saying it.
Okay.
Oh, Carlos, allow me just one question before you formulate the next. Question for Recorder. There's a comment here from Patricia Ghazali that we need to clarify for her. She saw the image that Otasiro projected at the beginning of our study. And she asks, the universe is infinite, right? But you showed the image of it, right, in the example of the image as being a finite space, because there was a delimitation in the photo, right? That's it. So, is it infinite? Is it finite? How is that, Otasiro?
Well, this concept of finite or infinite is too complex a concept, isn't it? For our little heads, which are finite. That's right, the human mind is finite. We have to learn things dialectically, right? Because we won't understand everything all at once. Our understanding expands as we gain more elements of thought. So, from a scientific point of view, our universe has a measurable space. Look, what is measurable is a space with a diameter of 92 billion light-years. And a finite time of 13.7 to 3.8 billion years, because that's what people can measure things, right? Now, in our minds, right? We want more, don't we? And from the point of view of divine creation, we also want more, because God is always creating. So, our vision of the universe, for now, is finite, but that doesn't mean it's finite. This is our current vision, right? So, we also have to have the humility to accept things in parts and understand that slowly we will enter into the mysteries of divine creation.
Very well, isn't it?
It's like wanting a child to learn the first letters of the alphabet and already know how to write in any language, isn't it? We have to go calmly, slowly, with humility. We will learn everything. I'm sure I will learn everything, because I am an immortal spirit and I will be an angelic spirit one day like Jesus and I will understand divine creation. But until then there are billions of years of evolution. That's it.
Tiro. And Corday, with humility, Kardec asks, right? So Corday, can we know the way the worlds were formed? That's right. So, look at how he puts it. When he says that everything that can be said about this, you can understand that worlds are formed by the condensation of matter, because we anticipate, right, the response disseminated in space. So, As we get to know each other, grow psychologically and spiritually, we understand the process better. Now, the origin of everything depends on and truly stems from the Supreme Intelligence, which is God.
Very good. Now, the next question is for Odaciro. Odaciro, what are comets? Are they worlds in formation?
Look at this question. When Kardec asked it, the astronomy of the time had a certain way of thinking about comets, and they believed this. That's why he asks it this way. So, today we know that comets are aggregates of frozen material, some with solid parts, others with vaporous frozen parts. And when they approach the sun, the solar radiation heats them and vaporizes them. That's why it forms a tail. Right? The tail is the result of the solar wind colliding with comets. That's what the sun throws out in its explosions, dissolving, pulverizing, vaporizing the comets. So, comets are things from the origin of the formation of our solar system. Therefore, we can think that at the origin of the formation, right? They were formed, they are very distant, they enter orbit, they often come towards the sun. So, they're in the centurion of Kuiper, which is the outer part of our planetary system. From time to time some, due to collisions, change trajectory and come towards the sun, make an elliptical orbit and return. Sometimes they are periodic, like Comet Raleigh, which returns every 80 years, but there are others that pass only once and never return, right? So, at the time, this idea about comets wasn't entirely without foundation, because they are remnants of the formation of the planetary system that gave rise to ours. Planets, and there's still matter left over on the periphery of our solar system. And I want to add to what our dear Lacordaire said, that this condensation that the spirits speak of in the formation of worlds is produced by gravitational force. It's gravitational force that does this. Science has catalogued 4 forces: gravitational force, electromagnetic force, weak nuclear force, and strong nuclear force. And the spirits kindly show us that there is a 5th force, which is the intelligent force of nature that emanates from God and His intelligent creatures. So, the intelligent force is capable of manipulating the other forces, the other 4, to work, to act, to co-create in the system of divine creation.
Hence the coherence of question number 1 in the Book of Spirits, isn't it? And of question 25, right? Which then says that we are also intelligent principles in the universe.
And of question 115 as well, right? Because we have the opportunity to be collaborators and co-creators of divinity. That's it.
Lacordaire. Maybe. A completely formed world disappearing and the matter that composed that world scattering again in space? That is, disintegrating? And the answer that the good spirits give, right, Kardec? That yes, just as the worlds also disintegrate, so do people, right, beings, right, because this transformation is precisely what will generate progress, isn't it? Because change is a vibrant force of the universe, right? That's why Kardec asks the question of progress, whether progress can be impeded. It can be delayed, but never prevented. So, it is through these changes that there will be all renewal, right, and growth and change among all kingdoms.
regarding this question of formation, right? Can we know the time it takes for the formation of worlds, for example, the time it takes for the Earth to form?
Yes. Look, that's another answer that the benevolent spiritual spirits give us through Kardec, right? He says, I can tell you nothing about it, because only the Creator knows, and foolish is he who pretends otherwise. To know or understand how many centuries this formation lasts. So, we know that change is permanent. Now, when and how, that belongs only to God. Quote. And then we'll see that many previous theories, some ideas that arose about the end of the world in 2000 years, right, reaching 2000, right, the year 2000 wouldn't arrive. So they're all flawed theories. And then we see Kardec's excellence, his common sense, right, as Camilo Flammarion said, reincarnated, he says, the Spiritist doctrine is a science that studies the nature, origin, destiny of spirits and their relations with the physical world. So, the answers are based on this logic, right, which leads us to develop this firm faith, right, reasoned faith. I wanted to add that because science evolves, we have to pay attention to how Kardec asks the question, is it possible to know the time it takes for the formation of worlds? Which worlds? We don't know all of them, but we know some in particular. Aha.
Right? For example, our system, the Sun.
Our solar system, quote.
Sure, our planetary system is 5 billion years old.
Aha.
How do we know that? Because we measure the decay of uranium. Radioactive uranium has an unstable nucleus. So it starts throwing particles from the nucleus outwards. First, it throws alpha particles, which are the nuclei of a helium atom, 2 protons and 2 neutrons together. It throws them out, it radiates. And then, as it throws protons and neutrons outwards, when it throws protons outwards, it changes the atomic number. So it becomes another lighter chemical element. Then it has a decay chain until it reaches lead. The average time for 1 kilogram of uranium to become kilogram of lead is 4 billion years. 4.1 billion years. That's the average lifespan. So, when you take a uranium deposit, you'll find lead. You know how much lead is in a rock and how much uranium is in it. You know how long it took to form that lead. So you do when dating, you measure time, and we're measuring the time of the moon, our planetary system, and meteors that we've already received from Mars. And also the rocks that are in this region of asteroids, which occasionally escape and fall as a meteor here. Sometimes it's small, it breaks apart and falls as a meteor. You take them and date them all using this type of resource. All of them show that the age of our planetary system's formation is 4.6 billion years. That's the age of Earth. Our Sun is a little older, it's 5 billion years old. Now we look at the stars, for example, Oxyl and the other stars that are in the stars, they are only 200 million years old, they are very young. So, information, there is no planetary system yet, okay? It's still forming. So, we can date objects like that sparsely, but we can't date the formation of worlds, because that would be dating the universe.
So, we have information about the universe through the Big Bang model, but we know that God is always creating. That's true. And then we observe, right, Carlos, when Jesus says that each day has enough trouble of its own. showing us that he's freeing us from worry and post-occupation, because there's a celestial plan in everything that exists in the universe, right? Aha. And Marcia Casimiro here, and Tiro can comment, she said, I have a lot of difficulty assimilating that there are multiple worlds, but I still have trouble understanding our origin and understanding the existence of extraterrestrials, for example. Well, today we have a satellite, and more are being launched, that observes stars. For example, the Kepler Observatory, which is in orbit, has a system for measuring starlight that monitors 100,000 stars simultaneously.
"100,000 stars simultaneously pointing to a region of our universe, right? So, he measures the light intensity of each of these stars. Every now and then the light intensity drops a little, stays there for a while, and then comes back. Then you keep observing, and after a while the same thing happens with that star. Then you discover that there's a planet passing in front of the star, causing a small eclipse of the star's light. And then we measure a planet orbiting it. With this type of observation, we then take our telescopes and make more detailed observations, and we're discovering planets around other stars. We already have more than 4,000 planets, exoplanets as we call them, because they're outside the solar system, orbiting other stars, right? So, there are other planetary systems. And our question is always this: if there are so many other planetary systems that we're discovering now in the last 20 years, it's clear that we're going to stumble upon planetary systems that have planets with life, because life isn't an accident uniquely specific to our planet Earth. So there will be life on other planets. And because there are older stars and younger stars, older planetary systems and newer planetary systems, we will find planets with inhabitants older than us and younger than us. So the universe is full of people, of immortal spirits created by God. That's extraterrestrial. Any spirit that lived on another planet and reincarnates on Earth is extraterrestrial. Jesus was the most wonderful extraterrestrial we've ever had. It's true. Because he wasn't born on planet Earth, he didn't evolve here. He is an angelic spirit from before the formation of the world, as he himself says in the Gospel of John. So, he was created by God and evolved in a planetary system that may no longer exist, that has already ceased to exist, because our planetary system will also one day cease to exist. The sun will expend all its energy in nuclear combustion and, suddenly, it will begin to cool down. And then it will expand until it reaches Earth's orbit, and Earth will be swallowed by the still hot sun, because it will be a red giant. And our life will cease to exist on Earth, physical life, because we, as spirits, are indestructible. By then, we will have evolved enough to become cosmic citizens. That's where it
comes in, right, Tarcio? My Father's house has many mansions, right? Of course. Jesus knew what he was saying.
Very good. Hey Recorder, I'm going to invite you to take a leap with me, a quantum leap as well, into the Spirit's book, to question 59. Where we will find a beautiful text by Kardec commenting on the information in the Bible that the world was created in 6 days.
Is there an allegorical meaning there? Could you comment on that, please, Lacord? Yes, ours put it very well, right, about the Creator's incessant work, right? So this is yet another allegory, right? And that God truly creates continuously. And Kardec is very insightful in presenting this, showing that it's just another interpretation within the timeline, isn't it? Which deserves a whole reflection, especially with today's technological advancements in science, as our point is made, and Kardec is insightful in showing that this is, in fact, an allegory, right? That's it. Okay, very well. Let's go, Taisiro. We have some questions here, from João Tadeu, for example. He asked, João Tadeu Santos Costa, he said, in this case, Professor Otako, couldn't we make a comparison between our tangible material plane and our intangible spiritual plane, intangible by the senses, of everything we're discussing? Is it possible to make a comparison between one thing and another? Of course, because God creates spiritual principles and material principles. We are talking about the creation of material things, of the universe that we observe. But what about the spiritual world, which is the universe that we still cannot observe? True.
As men and women, but something we observe when we pass away. My wife passed away a week ago. We're already observing this there, aren't we? Because she was a warrior, she overcame several stages, and we know she's doing very well, and she also had this kind of curiosity. It goes slowly, we observe these things. You see, spirits sometimes visit other planetary systems or visit our planets in the solar system and come to give us information. So, there's a whole spiritual universe to be discovered by man, by the incarnate spirit. And Kardec opened this marvelous door with the Spiritist doctrine, showing that the good way to see this is through mediumship, which we have to learn to use for the purpose of evolving, as a resource for spiritual growth. So, of course, these two worlds, which we could even say are two parallel worlds, right? But they aren't parallel because they are connected. The connection is that the spirits speak to us and we speak to the spirits. Therefore, it's a single world on different planes of observation. And of course, the spiritual universe is part of this context, just as much as the material universe. In fact, it is the most important, as Kardec says, it comes first. Because if we destroy material things, the spirit continues, because it is immortal. Neither fire, nor explosions, nor anything destroys the spirit. A spirit can cross the sun, which is 200, 500, billions, millions of degrees, because it has extremely hot nuclear fusion, without suffering any scratch, because the spirit is not made of palpable matter, it only covers itself with it. But the essence of the spirit is different. So there are two universes to be studied and, complementarily, to help us understand the vast divine creation. Besides not being able to suffer destruction, right, TC, it also cannot self-destruct, we cannot uncreate ourselves. Look at the beauty of God with us, right? It's forever. When we discover this, Lacorda, we thank God for creating us. Oh, how good it is to participate in divine creation. That's true.
It's wonderful and encouraging. Look, there's a question here, Lacorda. From Susie Mello. She asked this question at 8:52 a little while ago. And I think it's important to clarify, you know. She asks, do we have to be afraid of some kind of extraterrestrial? Quote.
Well, on the contrary, right? We will realize that we are under the permanent protection of God, of Jesus, of our guardian angel and of good spirits. It's not just about being afraid of extraterrestrials, as in our lives, right? There is no such thing as chance. So, within the law of justice, love and charity, nothing will happen to us that are not in our program when we maintain ourselves in the pursuit of harmony with good, right? What's
the name of the person who asked? Let me go back here. But there's Susie Mello here, Susie Mello. Oh, Susie, they are the ones who should be afraid of us, because we are the aggressive ones. When someone manages to travel between planets,
look, and
survive, they are much, much, much more spiritual, therefore more morally evolved than us.
Therefore, they are good. Wow. Now when they get here it's quite possible that we'll attack them. Oh Sakura, thank you, heavens, how can we think that we're going to have a war in the stars? Inferior beings like us don't leave the planet. Look at our own example.
Because if we go to another planet, what's shown in the movie Avatar will happen. We'll destroy the nature of others to extract energy. We don't understand how energy is formed there. It's true.
So, look how wonderful. This is a very interesting moment. We don't need this terrestrial life at all. Those who come here are superior to us. It's not because the inferior ones are like us in the districts. Someone commented, but they can advance technical intelligence. Yes, but nothing happens by chance, does it? And the universe has an order. Yes, and on the other hand, Carlos. The responsibility for the use of intelligence is moral. So, when an individual develops a lot of intelligence and starts doing a lot of harm, they are restrained
by the spiritual responsibilities demanded of them by the law of cause and effect.
Therefore, they don't progress.
Those Star Wars movies are our movie, because we are the violent ones who create and project that onto the universe. That's it. But the benevolent spirits who manage to travel through the universe, they are spirits of love, they are good.
They are evolved spirits. Okay, that's all within that. A question we had thought about, right? What are we missing? I'd like you both to comment please. What are we missing to understand the origin of the universe? What are we lacking? First, Lacordaire. Says there's a particular note from Newton where he says the following. If bodies are attracted to each other, the one with the greater force attracts the lesser ones, so at the epicenter of everything is God, and gravitation is love. So, nothing will happen without divine permission, right? So, what we really need to understand above all is bringing it to us in a moral sense, as we are seeing now, look. All this celestial programming of bodies, let's imagine then our spiritual programming, that we are an intelligent being of the universe. So, what are we lacking? The Spiritist doctrine helps us to have these two wings, the understanding using formal science and the understanding of the intelligence of moral science. That moral code that we carry, as Kardec asks in question 621, right? Where is God's law written? In the conscience. So, the more we grow spiritually, we enjoy who we are, and we also enjoy where we are, and we also collaborate with divinity, with our actions, our work, our elevation. Spiritual, that's the greater understanding that the doctrine offers us. And I would also say, complementing what he so aptly put, that evolution is a long path, isn't it? Just a few millennia ago we were cavemen. True.
In 10,000 years we created history and call ourselves civilized beings, but not yet humanized, because we are still fierce. We may have created a civilization, but our humanity is so disjointed, so still, suffering, so poorly distributed from the point of view of the benefits of humanity's own conquest, that we haven't yet become humanized in the sense of love. So, to understand the origin, the divine creation, more deeply, we need to walk further, we need to evolve further. And our evolution is surrounded. If we could make a graph, I would make a V-shaped graph. We started from a simple and ignorant point, and through experience, we used our will, first very primitively, in the search for that which, it was pleasant and unpleasant. And as we evolved, we increased the pleasant and unpleasant to create a different breadth of life. And from the pleasant and unpleasant, we created good and evil. Right? What was good, right? We made what was pleasant good, what was unpleasant became evil, and we created moral values. What limited our growth? Our capacity for choice and the law of responsibility, which is the law of cause and effect. So, as we broaden this angle, as we grow, we increase our capacity for choice and good choices, and we also increase freedom, because by making good choices, we can choose whatever we want. So, we broaden our understanding and delve into the knowledge of divine creation. So we, as earthly humanity, are already encountering many beautiful things in our universe, but much is still missing. One day, someone asked Emmanuel, through Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, what exactly is the spirit? He answered, so, I'm studying paraspirit, not the spirit itself, and I still don't fully understand per-spirit. I'll leave the spirit for later because I haven't gotten there yet. So, it's about having humility, patience, not being mentally lazy, and working hard, because that's how we acquire values and grow.
It's true.
Wonderful. Look, today's program is making me remember a very rich experience when I was able to read Camille Flammarion's work, Urania, where he also places himself as a protagonist, guided by Urania on a journey through the universe. And after reading this book, I really began to solidify in myself the impression of how small we are and that the proud feeling, the selfish feeling of thinking ourselves the center of the universe, only denotes our still limited evolution, right? So it was a work that marked me a lot, that we should read more classic works, right? But based on that, I would like to ask Lacordaire, even because of these reflections that we gain the opportunity to have from reading works like Urania. Quote,
It's Lacordaire, why is it important to study the origin of the universe? Yes. You see Joanna in the book, Study the Spirits, published by Feb, through the psychography of our beloved Divaldo. Right in the introduction, she emphasizes this importance, because similar to us as personalities, as people, if we don't know our history, we kind of lose our identity. So, when Kardec also puts this in perspective, because you see that the Spiritist doctrine shows that there is nothing supernatural or miraculous. So, to seek to study the history of the universe deeply, which even led Emmanuel himself in the book, On the Way to the Light, to bring us a profound account of the historical process of humanity, precisely so that we can develop reasoned faith. When Kardec speaks of unwavering faith, it is only that which is capable of facing reason face to face in all eras of humanity. That's why the Spiritist doctrine, it is one, and its message is a message that must be studied. But not studying it in a formal sense, but studying it so that you can solidify this knowledge in such a way that you can apply it, because phenomena, they affect our senses, but they pass. But what you study will help you, as Amanio also states in the book, Estudo Viva, Live Study, that knowledge is the rudder. It will help us to have a direction, because it's no use being well-intentioned but poorly directed. So study helps us, in addition to having good intentions, a loving direction, and above all in our process of self-transformation. Because nobody reincarnates for another, we reincarnate for ourselves. So, when I seek to know the meaning of reincarnation, when I seek to understand, seeing as we are seeing here, look at the mechanism that is the universe, there is no chance. Nobody is thrown into the world, nobody fell from the sky, and nobody is a poor thing, right? Nor incapable. So, when we seek to study this history, we use how strong we are, right, for ourselves, in our self-transformation. And in the face of this opportunity, this more opportunity that life offers for our evolution. Oh, Taisiro, we have several questions here. We're already at the very end of the program and we have one more to ask, but we didn't want to leave Marian Trindade's question pending. She says, we're talking about extraterrestrials here, right? And she says, what about the stories told about our extraterrestrial brothers who abduct Earthlings? Quote, I think there's a lot of imagination in that. And I also believe that many people sometimes find themselves dealing with spiritual influences and don't understand, they interpret it that way. True, it's not.
Because when you seek, Jesus has a phrase that I find beautiful. Whoever seeks finds. And I like to complete it by saying, and finds what they seek. Isn't that right? Question mark. Because when a person devoutly believes in these things, they can also become psychically subject to the influence of spirits and cause them to interpret things in that way. Because from a scientific point of view, if we wanted to leave our planet to go, for example, to a neighboring star, the nearest neighboring star is 4.1 light-years away. That means that if I had a spaceship that travels at the speed of light and left here now to go to nearby Alpha Centauri, I would spend 4.1 years traveling. Now, my body can't withstand it for two reasons. The first is that I can't withstand the speed of light. None of our bodies can withstand the speed of light. The second is that we are subject to cosmic radiation. Our biological body suffers damage from cosmic radiation, suffers genetic mutation, and can produce serious illnesses. This is what is being investigated with the astronauts who stay in orbital stations.
It's
not because there's cosmic radiation that passes through the spaceship. Gamma radiation passes through and can destroy cells, destroy our organism. So, we can't withstand a long journey. Now, if we were to travel with the spaceships we have today, at the maximum speed they reach today, it would take us more than a century, 2, 3, 5 centuries to reach the star. So our bodies can't handle that. So if extraterrestrials exist, they don't come here with physical bodies. They are spirits. Spirits that are extraterrestrial. And people let themselves be influenced by this and interpret it as they want. Right? So, none of this has a scientific basis, logically. That's why scientists don't believe in spaceships, in extraterrestrials, because it doesn't make biological sense. But there could be spiritual influence. And a spirit can abduct the individual who wants to be abducted and fill their head with anything, because they are accepting it, they are not critically analyzing things carefully. Right? So this is a process that we still don't understand properly because it hasn't been adequately studied. But I would say, oh, don't worry about being abducted by extraterrestrials. If you are abducted, pay attention because there's an earthling there deceiving you.
Very good, Adasiro. Look, we're reaching the final minutes of our program, right, Carlos? But there's one last question that perhaps we could distribute to both of you, asking you to be concise, right? What else can we add to today's study on the origin of the universe? And then it works with final words from both of you. Dear ones, the
first certainty is God's love for us, according to question 3 of the Spirit's book, which speaks of God's attributes. So, God being everything or having everything, He didn't need to have created us. So, why did He create us? Out of love, and He created us for a purpose, giving us the opportunity to develop our happiness through the exercise of virtues in harmony with the laws, and at the same time collaborating as co-creators and collaborators of the divinity, according to question 115 of the Spirit's book. And this logic is that nobody is where they are and how they are, by chance. This leads Joanna's spirit to say, flourish where God has placed you. There's a whole synchronicity of the universe. Therefore, we are in the universe. So, a particular, individual synchronicity for each one. That's why Jesus said, look, he, as the Good Shepherd speaking to Joanna of Cusa, as Humberto de Campos narrates in the book, my memory fails me with the book, he says, good news, gratitude. I am the Good Shepherd, and the Good Shepherd knows all his sheep by name. What does that mean? Nobody is abandoned. Wherever we are, however we are in the heart of God. Taysiro.
Look, I am a person who adores the Spiritist doctrine. I have studied science and Spiritism since my youth.
What a blessing.
Right? When I passed the university entrance exam, the president of the center, I had applied for engineering school because engineering was the only science field offered in Guyana at the time. Many years ago, came to congratulate me. Quote, oh, that's great, another Spiritist engineer, he said. And I told him, no, another Spiritist engineer. Quote. And in fact, in my second year of engineering, I switched to physics. So, physics and Spiritist doctrine have opened up increasingly broader fields of understanding for me. And the logic of divine creation is so fantastic that God is truly the supreme intelligence of the universe. And the fact that we were created in His image and likeness, with developing little intelligences, is a wonderful thing. Because even though we are tiny, on a small blue planet, seemingly insignificant, but so beautiful, Jesus took great care with us, didn't He? So beautiful, isn't it? We are capable of asking about things and seeking answers. And this image of God within us, which is intelligence, is the most marvelous thing we have. So it's an instrument we have to progress, to evolve, to get closer to God, isn't it? We get closer to God when we open our understanding and put aside the pride of thinking we are better than others, because each one has their own reality and we learn to walk together, because we are all children of God. Once I passed by a car that had written on it, I am not God, but I am the son of the owner. I thought it was wonderful, because we are all children of the owner. So, if we are all children of the owner, we are all brothers and sisters. And more than anything, as we understand our spiritual reality, we understand what Emmanuel said: we are cosmic citizens. Temporarily residing on planet Earth. Quote, that is, we will know everything about divine creation. And this destiny is the most fantastic thing we can wish for.
So, we will all be the future leaders of a galaxy.
For sure. Jesus, this marvelous spirit who is ours, our model guide, went through the experience of spiritual growth, like all of us, not on Earth, not in our planetary system.
In another planetary system, we don't know where he went. One day he'll tell us.
But he is the angelic spirit that he is because he progressed. And we will be angelic spirits too. It's enough that we work on ourselves, work on our effort, work on our capacity to understand, to learn, to comprehend, to love, to embrace, to be a fraternal participant in this marvelous nature that God created for all of us.
So I'm going to look at you, look at the crisis, look at the case, look also at our sister and the interpreter. We are facing future leaders of galaxies. Let's do it together. We'll finish by saying this: we are heirs of the universe, aren't we? So I'm an heir, but Lasse is too, Chris is too, Ochio is too, Nivea is too, isn't she? All of us, our sisters, are doing the sign language interpretation here, and all of us who are following our study are all heirs of God, our Father, aren't we? Look, Jane's over there too. All of us. That's encouraging, that animates us. We have nothing to compete for. We just need to learn to cooperate, isn't that right?
It's with God.
The key word isn't competition, it's cooperation.
Cooperation, isn't that right? Cooperation. However, we have homework. As future plan managers, we have to seek our credentials for this.
Studying the Book of Spirits, isn't that right, Chris? That's right.
Every Monday, at 8 p.m.
The pending questions will be answered, won't they, on our website. Please be attentive. We have our group on Telegram, where you can participate and ask questions too. We have a large team, several people who have already participated here. Odesirio will even be on our team answering questions. He's already started, he's already begun answering. So, it's a great pleasure. Have an excellent week. Our thanks to Lacorde, to Tesiro, to Chris, to our interpreters who are so kindly here, right? Collaborating with us. To Concebe, our very fraternal thanks, and until next week. Much peace. May Jesus bless our valleys. Studying the Book of Spirits, a sequential study of the work The Book of Spirits by Allan Kardec. This is our way of transmitting hope, knowledge, and joy. Taking advantage of my expression of gratitude, I want to say that you continue to participate, collaborating as much as possible so that this proposal of love and peace continues to celebrate life for many more years, because the world's need is merciless, growing, and we, who live for good, cannot remain idle, still and contemplating, thinking that God will come. Let's do what we need to do. My gratitude, my embrace, and my warm invitation for us to continue together with February TV on the air, shining its light. Get to know the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, which seeks to show who it is, the work carried out through this centennial institution, bringing you into our home. How did the Brazilian Spiritist Federation come about, from its founder Augusto Elias to the present day? What happened? Who were and who are the figures who were and are part of this history? What is the relationship of names like Chico Xavier, Bezerra de Menezes, and Boni Pereira with this institution, with its mission? How does it act in the formation of the good man? We will present the Brazilian Spiritist Federation in a dynamic format with videos, testimonials, historical posts, and audios. Get to know it and become part of this family.